It means that Lehman really didn't put up much of a fight, because I know Milagros and I had spoke before. She told me that City College, as you spoke about, they had a lot of issues going on.
Well, here, yes, they put up a fight. I mean, it didn't go to the extreme, the violence at City College, but there was a black student organization called Cubambanya and a Puerto Rican student organization called Unica, and they took over a meeting of the academic senate to press the academic senate to create the department. And the Puerto Rican students also had a plan to set fires on the library if the department was not approved.
Wow.
So yes, things were hot here.
So there was some blackmailing and stuff going on.
Yes.
But it's important to contextualize. When we say violence, it sounds like it's just unplanned or purposeless. And this was part of the times. We're not trying to suggest in any ways that that the Lehman College students chose a route that was different, but rather that structurally there was great unrest in the city of New York as well as in the country. There was severe limitations, to access in terms of people of color. And Javier has done a great job of documenting, the development of Puerto Rican studies specifically and Latino studies more generally in our city university system in the context of national developments. So,
for example, as Licia says, it was a different world. In 1969, the female students at Lehman sort of like, if you were a female student, you couldn't come in jeans. There was a dress code. So female students basically said, no, we're going to go in jeans. And supposedly the threat was that they were going to be suspended. Okay. They had to have slacks or dresses or skirts.
Or long skirts, I imagine.
And the dean of students supposedly was to be on the doors, at the gates, waiting for them and suspended. It didn't happen because they got a hold of what was going to happen. No, there was large numbers of female students who were doing this. It was impossible to stop. So it was a different period. The world, in many ways, the society was changing.
Latinos involved in this, right?
Latinos were involved, African Americans were involved, white students were involved, yes.
Okay. So when did this thing kind of end, or like the riots and the violence and all the resistance?
By the end of 69, by the spring semester of 69, when the demands are basically met throughout the system and different departments are created or programs are created in most of the campuses.
The early years of the department, I understand it was all Puerto Rican, right?
Yes.
The early years. I mean, how did that, how did you guys just come into terms of just making it all Puerto Rican? What led to that? How come the other, ethnic groups were not involved just yet?
It was a matter of numbers, I would say, right?
It was more basically demographics. During that time was basically Puerto Ricans. When Dominicans that came here in the 60s started to join higher education, so there was a need to incorporate Dominicans into Latino studies. And then there was like a diverse group of people coming. And you see that in the 1980s, there were Colombians, Ecuadorians, now we have Mexicans. So today we have, like a representation of all Latin American countries. Right. And that what was the Puerto Rican Studies Department is now the Latin American and Puerto Rican Studies Department. We have to change the name in order to incorporate, all the changes, the demographic changes on campus. Right. And this is very important in our department. And like in the 1990s, 1980s, we incorporated Dominican courses into the curriculum. Yes. And just recently, we created a Mexican and Mexican-American minor. And that's, that appeals to all the Mexicans that are now being into higher education, not only in Lehman, but throughout the city, both public and private institutions.
Well, let's actually take a break. Let's hold that thought right there. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll kind of lead people into a transition of how this department evolved and became what it is today. So please stay tuned, as we'll be back with more on the Bronx Journal.
Hi, I'm Ryan St. U.S. Olympic aerial skier and a jumping, spinning, flipping product of my hometown, Winter Park, Colorado. Wherever you live in America, filling out the census form when it comes in the mail this March can help the people in your community. "10 questions, 10 minutes, that's all it takes. Remember, we can't move forward until you send it back."
2010 is Miss Virginia Caressa Cameron.
Like you and everyone else living in our great country, we are the people, and we all count in the 2010 census. When your form arrives, please take 10 minutes to answer 10 questions. Your participation will help your community get what it needs for the next 10 years. Be a winner, fill out your form, and mail it back. Learn more at 2010census.gov.
Hi, I'm Donny Osmond, and I perform here in Las Vegas at the Flamingo almost every night with my sister. And as you know, family is very important to me. It's also an important part of the 2010 census. So when your form arrives, take 10 minutes and fill it out and mail it back. You see, the information you provide will help your community get the federal funding and representation in Congress that it deserves. You can go to my website, donny.com, and click on the 2010 Census logo for more information. Or you can visit 2010census.gov. Thank you.
We did it! We did it! We did it! Hey! What did you do? We helped Mommy fill out our census form. And we mailed it back. But why? Because everybody counts in the census form, especially little kids. Including them helps us get important things in our town, like daycare centers, schools, and more. Yay! We did it! The 2010 census. Children count too.
And we're back with more on the Bronx Journal. I'm here with Professors Milagros Ricord, Javier Totti, and Licia Fiolmata. Now, when we left off to the break, we were talking about the department and its evolution to what it is today. I want you guys to kind of backtrack again and let me know what the curriculum was like back when it was just the Puerto Ricans department.
I think that one has to qualify it a little bit. I think that part of why it was Puerto Rican studies. One is that the majority of the Latino population in New York was Puerto Rican, probably around 80-something%. Particularly in the Bronx. And second is the whole colonial situation of Puerto Rico, that Puerto Ricans felt that they didn't know their history, etc., because it's a colony, and they wanted to bring a sense of affirmation, of national affirmation, etc. The department is organized, and they bring in a very high caliber scholar, Dr. Maria Teresa Babin, who was a specialist. She had a doctorate from Columbia University, and she was a specialist first and wrote a number of books on Garcia Lorca's poetry, and then on Puerto Rican culture and literature. Babin was also on the founding board of the Institute for Puerto Rican Culture, so she was a very well-known scholar. And she's set with the mission to organize this department and to have the courses approved by the Senate, Academic Senate, and the whole process, and the board, etc. She also sets out a set of conferences of bringing in well-known, recognized specialists in Puerto Rican affairs, history, culture, etc., to give lectures here once a month. The first course she organizes is a course on Puerto Rican culture to meet the demands of the students who wanted to know more about their culture.
Did she have any more courses?
Oh, yes. They did.
Puerto Rican folklore.
Folklore, history.
History, literature, 2 sections, 2 segments. But what we want to say is that we're very proud of our Puerto Rican Studies major and minor, and we offer a Puerto Rican Studies major and the Puerto Rican Studies minor. So it's not that that was in the past and it was kind of left behind, but rather the department grew, our understanding of the connections between the groups also developed as the groups were arriving into New York City. And as Professor Ricoeur mentioned in the previous segment, with the influx of new Latino immigrants, our department changed and incorporated these new social actors along with their knowledge.